watching Just News. I'm Amita Balachandra. Let's get straight to it. An update now on the farmers' movement. The farmers' movement that went on for over 15 months has now been called off. They will start leaving Delhi's borders from 11th of December. And this is according to a statement by the umbrella body of farm leaders, the Samyukta Kisan Morcha. Now, farmers had earlier pointed out that just repeal of farm laws is not enough. They have other demands as well. This comes after the centre's letter. Now, the centre, as part of its offer, has agreed to form a committee to decide on the MSP issue. Now, the committee will consist of government officials, agriculture experts, and representatives from the Samyukta Kisan Morcha, the umbrella body of farmer unions. Now, the centre has also agreed to drop all police cases against farmers. This includes stubble burning complaints and those filed by Haryana and Uttar Pradesh in connection with violent clashes with security forces over the past several months. It has also assured the farmers that all cases against them relating to the protests will be immediately withdrawn and has appealed to the states to also do the same. Meanwhile, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh have given in principle agreement, according to this letter, to compensation for farmers who lost their lives, and Punjab has already made an announcement, the centre's letter says. Now, the Samyukta Kisan Morcha leader, Balbir Singh Rajiwal, one of the leaders touted to have spearheaded this movement, has said, and I quote, "The Andolan has been suspended. The unions will meet on 15th of January to review if the government implements the proposals agreed upon." Meanwhile, the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has announced that the Indian Air Force has ordered a tri-service inquiry into the military chopper crash, that tragedy that took place just yesterday. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh also informed the Parliament that the helicopter that crashed with Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat and 13 others on board took off from the Sulur Airbase at 11:48 a.m. He said, and I quote, "The helicopter was to land at 12:15 p.m. The Sulur Airbase Air Traffic Control lost contact with the helicopter at 12:08 p.m." End quote. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh also told Parliament that Group Captain Varun Singh, who is the lone survivor of this tragic incident, is, and I quote, "critical but stable." End quote. Defence Minister also said that all efforts are currently being made to save him. General Rawat, who was 63, was on his way to the Defence Services Staff College in Wellington, where he was to deliver a lecture. His wife, incidentally, was also travelling with him, along with 12 other people. Now, opposition MPs in the meantime have called off their protests today to pay homage to General Rawat and others who succumbed in the crash. Also in the news, the government has now informed the Rajya Sabha that there has been no increase in human rights violation in the country. Now, Minister of State for Home Affairs Nityanand Rai said, and I quote, "As per the data made available by the NHRC, no such increase of human rights violation is noticed." End quote. The government said that NHRC has registered 64,170 cases of human rights violations till October 31st this year. The data shows a decline in the number of cases registered in the last 3 years. The IT Ministry, in the meantime, informed the government that cyber crimes committed against children in India has increased sharply in 2020 over the previous year. And this is according to the data of National Crime Records Bureau. In 2019, a total of 306 cybercrime cases against children were registered, while last year, 1,102 cases were filed. Uttar Pradesh recorded the highest number of online offences against kids, with 170, followed by Karnataka, Maharashtra, Kerala, and Odisha. In the meantime, in the Bhima Koregaon Elga Parishad case, activist Sudha Bharadwaj, one of the key accused, has been released from Mumbai's Baikala jail. She was in jail for more than 3 years. This comes after a special NIA court ruled that Bharadwaj would be released on a cash bond of 50,000 rupees with one or more sureties. Now, the Supreme Court had earlier rejected the NIA's plea to stay the default bail granted to Bharadwaj. Bharadwaj was granted default bail just last week. by the Bombay High Court. Now, the conditions include that she will reside in the jurisdiction of the court in Mumbai, will not leave the city without permission of the court. The other condition is that Bharadwaj cannot make any statement regarding the proceedings in the case, or there shall not be any large gathering of visitors other than her relatives. Now, incidentally, Advocate Yug Mohit Chaudhary, appearing for her, had opposed the condition, stating that this is an infringement of her freedom of speech. An update now on COVID numbers with a particular focus on Omicron cases. World Health Organization's chief has said on Wednesday, and I quote, emerging data from South Africa suggests increased risk of reinfection with Omicron. There is also some evidence that Omicron causes milder disease than Delta, he said, end quote. But he stressed that more data was needed before drawing firm conclusions, and this is just preliminary data that's come out. And he's also urged countries everywhere to boost their surveillance to help provide a clearer picture of how Omicron is currently behaving. Now, WHO chief was also warned, and I quote, any complacency now will cost lives, end quote. Now, the new variant was discovered in the last week of November, and it was first detected in South Africa, and since then has spread across 57 countries. Now, no deaths, incidentally, have been reported because of this new variant of concern. In India, meanwhile, there are 23 cases that have been reported. In the meantime, in view of rising COVID cases, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation has announced that India will keep scheduled international passenger flights suspended till the 31st of January. Now, the restriction, however, shall not apply to international all-cargo operations and flights specifically approved by the DGCA. And the statement has added, and I quote, international scheduled flights may be allowed on select routes on a case-by-case basis. On to business news right now. Fitch Ratings has cut India's GDP growth forecast for 2021-22 to 8.4% from its previous estimate of 8.7%, saying the rebound after the second wave of COVID infections has been subdued than expected. However, it raised the GDP growth projection for the next financial year to 10.3%. The agency also went on to say that risks to recovery remain, especially in the near term, given that less than 1/3 of the population is currently fully vaccinated. The newly discovered Omicron variant has added to that risk, the agency says. And now on to news coming in from across the world. According to the Committee to Protect Journalists, the number of journalists in jail has reached a record high in 2021. Over 293 reporters across the world are imprisoned as of 1st December 2021. Now, the number of journalists in jail has also risen by 15 compared with 2020. Now, Reuters reported that the survey also went on to say that at least 24 journalists were killed because of their coverage, and 18 others died in circumstances that make it too difficult to determine whether they were targeted because of their work. Now, Executive Director of Committee to Protect Journalists said, and I quote, the number reflects two inextricable challenges. Governments are determined to control and manage information, and they are increasingly brazen in their efforts to do so. Meanwhile, in New Zealand, with an aim to phase out smoking for the upcoming generation, New Zealand has now announced that anyone born after 2008 will not be able to buy cigarettes or tobacco products in their lifetime. Now, New Zealand's health minister said, and I quote, we want to make sure young people never start smoking. And this is a BBC report which says that New Zealand aims to achieve a national smoking rate to 5% by 2025, with the aim of eventually eliminating it altogether. Now, currently, 13% of New Zealand's adults smoke. The new law is expected to be enacted next year. On to sports news right now. The 23-time Grand Slam champion Serena Williams said she will skip the upcoming Australian Open in view of medical advice from her team. In a statement, Serena Williams said, and I quote, "While this is never an easy decision, I'm not where I need to be physically to compete." End quote. Well, that's all we have for you in today's bulletin. Thank you so much for watching.